All right, take three. First rule of this channel, we do not talk about this channel. Second rule of this channel, this is not legal advice. So welcome to my 2024 quarterback rankings pre-draft. Right now I have Lamar Jackson as my quarterback one overall. If you're new to the channel, this is not necessarily just like one-to-one rankings. This is how I would attack ADPs. So I think there's a better value for Lamar Jackson going as my quarterback or going as quarterback 3 than there is Josh Allen going at quarterback 1. That's what I'm saying. So to a certain extent, I would feel better drafting Lamar Jackson as like a late third round pick than I would trying to go up and get Josh Allen in the second. That's the way I look at this stuff. It is not who I think is going to finish as quarterback 1 overall. That still may be Josh Allen, even though Lamar Jackson, I think, has a better road. I like the potential for Zay Flowers to take a step forward. I like the rushing upside of Lamar Jackson, as opposed to Josh Allen, who lost Stephon Diggs and is expected to have Khalil Shakur as his wide receiver 1. I do like Dalton Kincaid. That's why I would keep Josh Allen up here. But overall, I would rather take the value of Lamar Jackson saving a round in the draft than going up and getting a Josh Allen. Jalen Hurts, bringing Barkley. Don't know if he's going to have the passing upside yet. And there's also the possibility that the rushing yards and the rushing touchdowns aren't going to be there because of the Barkley signing. He would be 3. They're all fine. That's not really the point. But again, if I was going to attack one of these guys in the elite, sub-elite tier, and again, I'm not trying to chase this 17, 18 point season. I'm trying to chase either the 23 points a game that Josh Allen put up last year or the 26, 27 that you're looking at Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. And the way that we're going to get it, because of the way defenses are playing right now in the NFL, I would imagine that we're not going to get a 5,000-yard passer with 40 or 50 touchdowns. We're probably going to get like a 4,500-yard passer with 35 to 40 touchdowns. So the rushing upside is going to become really important. And even though the Ravens brought in Derrick Henry, I don't necessarily think that's going to change that plus or minus 600 to 1,000 yards rushing Lamar Jackson is going to have. And even if Derrick Henry really cuts into the rushing touchdowns like Gus Bus did last year, Lamar Jackson has never really been a huge guy that's going to rely on these rushing touchdowns in a way that Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts is. And again, Jalen Hurts, they got Barkley coming in. Even though I'm expecting Barkley to be more like the Deshaun or DeAndre Swift, and Josh Allen, not too concerned with James Cook cutting into too much of the rushing touchdowns, even though like 15 is really high. I would be more worried if they bring somebody in, but overall, I think Lamar Jackson has the better range of outcomes to finish with a higher points per game than Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. So moving on to the next tier, Dak, Mahomes, Burrow. This would be 4, 5, 6. The biggest thing with Dak is I think that with Rico Dowdle being the projected starting running back there may be a little bit more blood to get out of these rushing touchdowns for Dak. Still going to have a lot of weapons, still going to be high volume passing. It's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Not going to probably be the goal line guy in the way that Dak probably has the upside between the two of these guys. And again, from a price standpoint, I have to go out and spend the quarterback 4 on Dak versus spending quarterback 8 on Dak. I have to go out and spend quarterback 4 to get Patrick Mahomes, or I can go out and spend 8 to get Dak. I'm going to take Dak on the potential of return on that investment. Joe Burrow, again, going to have the possibility of a higher passing offense to go around like 4,500 yards, 36 to 40 touchdowns, probably range of outcomes, or probably closer to like 30 to 40 touchdowns. Still going to have a little deceptive rushing ability, especially in the red zone. That's why I would keep him up here in this tier of guys that are not necessarily going to be high rushers. They're going to have a little bit deceptive value, but they're going to still be in higher volume passing offenses. Next tier, this is all upside. Basically, this is the where you have to put your money where your mouth is between Kyler and Anthony Richardson. Kyler's probably not going to have the passing upside, and he's going to be in the very good but not great rushing range overall. Anthony Richardson may have a higher rushing upside, but your guess is as good as mine if either one of these guys are going to stay healthy, or how high the passing totals are going to be with Anthony Richardson. Right now with Kyler, this is 7 and 8 overall from a fantasy pros perspective. I would get really close to thinking that Anthony Richardson is slightly overvalued. I would still be attacking him at that quarterback 6 ADP. And the reason behind that, as I pull up my overall, as I hit my mic trying to be able to look at my screen, the main reason behind this is where I would be attacking these guys in the draft. Anthony Richardson. So you're looking at, late fourth, early sixth, somewhere around that range. Probably enough risk baked into their ADP relative to the guys that I would be missing on to go get them. I would probably be okay with that. It's not a super great pick overall, but I would be okay with that. Looking for Kyler. Kyler I like better at the value at 67 overall on Fantasy Pros, quarterback 9. So that's why I would probably have him slightly ahead of Anthony Richardson. If Anthony Richardson gets hype trained up, to I could definitely see being quarterback 4. That's probably like too rich for my blood at that rate. This tier of guys, again, a little bit of question on maybe talent or situation. That's why I would think that like maybe we're drafting them more along the lines of their ceilings than their floors. That's what would bother me with these guys. Jordan Love, like this is the over under on his stat line. 4,100 yards passing, 32 touchdowns to go along with 247 and 4 touchdowns. Maybe he could go either way on that. That this is quarterback 9 overall. Same thing with Trevor Lawrence. You're basically drafting the same stat line from 2022 and 2023, where he has about 4,000 yards passing, low 20 touchdowns to go along with about 300 yards rushing and four touchdowns on the ground. Could have a higher ceiling to that. I think there's a lot of value in Trevor Lawrence. I think he's like probably the most undervalued guy because of that upside relative to what the cost that you'd be putting into him. Like I said, with Fantasy Pros, I think like when I talked about this the other day, he was going at like quarterback 16. So I can not spend premium prices on Trevor Lawrence to potentially get up into this sub-elite category. Still going to be a tough road, but again, the cost that I'm paying. Justin Herbert, I have lower based off the variable of how the offense is going to run and the loss of talent that they have this year. You're looking at Josh Palmer being the wide receiver 1, Gus Bus being the starting running back. That's a rough road for him to overcome all that baked into his ADP. So, but out of these guys, like the talent to be in this sub elite tier. This tier, I think these guys are relatively capped. You're drafting CJ Stroud, and I would have CJ Stroud all the way down here at quarterback 12. You're drafting him with the hope that he's going to have a massive jump in passing your totals. So an increase of 500 yards passing, 600 yards passing, and 10 to 20 passing touchdowns. And that's a really tough road relative to his cost right now on Fantasy Pros going quarterback 5. Not going to probably be a rushing upside guy. That's not what he was in college. And Brock Purdy, you're drafting the over underline of his 2017 with 4,200 yards passing, 31 touchdowns to go with 144 rushing and 2 touchdowns with him. And I just don't think there's much else to get out of Brock Purdy. Relatively safe, quarterback 13. Moving on to Tua and Goff, these guys are going to have very limited rushing floors and ceilings. Or I should say ceilings overall. So you're trying to draft their passing totals from last year, hoping that they don't take that step back. Probably going to be a tough road with a lot of the too high shells being played at the NFL level for them to take a step forward. This would be my quarterback, 14 and 15. And then going into Fantasy Pros, like you're looking at 12 and 15. So like there's just not a lot of upside with these guys. That's why I would probably have them ranked down here. Will Levis at quarterback 16, Deshaun Watson at quarterback 17. This is all upside play. They're either going to like break your heart, or they're going to they're going to finish as like pretty close to league winners. Probably not going to have a lot of in between with these two guys. That's why I would have them ranked up so high. If I'm spending on Will Levis, quarterback 24 prices, like you're getting really close to 13th round pick to find out that he's nothing. So if I spend that 13th round pick, quarterback 24 on Will Levis, and he even gets near top 12, I won my pick. And the same thing with Deshaun Watson. Um, Probably going to have a little bit more rushing upside. That's why he should be ranked up so high. So if he could just get like pedestrian passing totals, 2019, 3,800 yards passing, 26 touchdowns to go along with like 413 and 7 touchdowns, you get to put him at like 322. And that would put him right along the lines of, you know, 18, 19 points a game. So that would be his like range of outcomes on that one. Um, to outdo his investment. So on Fantasy Pros with Deshaun Watson as quarterback 21, you got higher upside league winner baked into these two guys at their at my rankings versus their ADPs. Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins really capped. This is age, this is injury, lack of rushing upside. Two quarterback leagues. Yeah, I would be okay with them being as my quarterback twos. I'd probably be attacking Levis and Watson in this range to get upside versus Stafford and Cousins at the, let's see what I have these guys ranked, 18, 19. Darnold is quarterback 20, Baker May 21, Geno Smith 23 or 22. Sam Darnold, it's upside. Like I said before, I could definitely see that Kirk Cousins 2022 is within the range of outcomes for Sam Darnold. And it's going to basically cost me nothing to find out right now. Like from yesterday, Sam Darnold, quarterback 35. So that's what I'll be looking to potentially get a top 5 quarterback finish with Darnold on the season, and it's going to cost me quarterback 20. So I would probably want Sam Darnold to start my season if he survives the draft more than like a Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford, maybe not Will Levis and Deshaun Watson, but I would be pushing it. Baker May and Geno Smith maybe capped ceilings because of talent. Overall, still going to be flirting, especially in 2 quarterback leagues as starters. In 1 quarterback leagues, like they need help from other people more so than they can go out there and win you a league at their prices. Baker May is quarterback 22, Geno Smith quarterback 23. And again, I would probably be taking swings on guys with higher possibilities to win me leagues versus like pushing down the capital I put into them in drafts. So Sam Darnold, I do like. Will Levis, I do like at their cost. Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Young, probably not going to have the rushing upside for either one of these guys. Also, probably not going to have the passing upside for either one of these guys. Aaron Rodgers probably would be a little bit higher for me if he wasn't coming off the Achilles. Bryce Young just wasn't that type of guy in college. I don't see that moving forward. I do expect that he's going to be closer to 4,000 yards passing and say 25 touchdowns this year. I do think that there's a step forward. That doesn't necessarily move the fantasy needle overall. Daniel Jones all the way down here at quarterback 25. This is primarily based off the rushing upside versus the passing upside. It's just a long road for him to jump up into fantasy relevance if he's nowhere near the 700 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. Not a lot of talent on the Giants going into the season. And Derek Carr is just not going to have either the rushing volume or the passing volume to move the needle. Russ Wilson, I would move Russell Wilson up to probably about quarterback. This is going to be a little rough to talk about. I would move him into about this tier of guys, Will Levis and Deshaun Watson. And I can't tell you the number right now because of the rookie running backs coming in. I would probably put the rookie running back or the rookie quarterbacks ahead of or behind Goff and Tua at this point. So you're looking about like 5 guys that would come into about this area after the draft, or at least in the case of Russ Wilson. If Russ can keep the job heading into the regular season, I potentially would move him all the way up. It's the Justin Fields that bothers me at this point. Like I would tier them all the way down here. Same with O'Connell and Minshew. I don't necessarily think I would move either one of these guys up if they are declared the starter. Overall, I just they're going to have a limited rushing upside. Gardner Minshew probably has a little bit higher rushing upside than Aiden O'Connell does. So I mean, I would move Minshew up over O'Connell, but not the other way. O'Connell, it's like he's going to have to get his on a higher volume passing offense. Not going to be what the Raiders likely project to be. And this is where like guys that we're expecting to completely be off the board after the draft. Mariota is probably the starting quarterback for the Redskins. May start the season at that, even if they go get a Jaden Daniels. I don't necessarily know if that would change the Redskins throwing him out. the toys would move Mariota up more so than the talent, and he also is going to have the ability to have that rushing upside. Jacoby Brissett all the way down here, no toys, no weapons, expecting someone to be brought into the Patriots. Jared Stidham, I guess, right now would be the starting quarterback for the Broncos. Absolutely not. Tyson Bagent, he's all the way down here because I'm expecting him to or the Bears to take Caleb Williams, but he would be my quarterback. I would move him actually up a little bit higher based off the potential of this rushing upside if he starts the season. Same thing with Jacoby Brissett. There's probably better weapons. Well, there's obviously better weapons with the Bears going on. So if on the some weird thing that happens with the Bears, either they don't draft Caleb Williams or Caleb Williams gets injured, this would push Tyson Bagent like way up the board, probably to the Sam Darnold range. If for some reason he's going to be the starting quarterback, and again, that would be just based off the weapons and the rushing upside for Tyson Bagent more so than the talent. And then the other guy that I would talk about a little bit on this list, if Stetson Bennett. So right now, he last year he basically didn't play because of going to rehab for some substance abuse issues. Did look good in the preseason. The Rams brought in Jimmy Garoppolo to back up Matt Stafford. So the reason why I bring up Stetson Bennett is not all these teams that we expect to go out and get quarterbacks are going to necessarily get quarterbacks in this draft. Maybe Stetson Bennett gets moved. Maybe like I'll talk about this here in a second. So a guy like Sam Hartman, who I liked when he was at Wake Forest, didn't necessarily like him at Notre Dame. Probably some hero ball involved. Guys like him, you're looking at because I may end up needing a new mascot for the team. But guys, some of these guys can go in and slot into teams that expected to get quarterbacks and didn't get quarterbacks. So if the Broncos, for instance, with Jared Stidham, I don't see a way that they go into the season with Jared Stidham as quarterback. I see that it's more likely that they're going to go trade for a guy like Stetson Bennett or throw a late round flyer at like a Sam Hartman, maybe like a Joe Milton, something like that. That would potentially move some of these guys up the fantasy board based off of like maybe even rushing upside with Joe Milton. I don't think there's a lot of talent there. Sam Hartman's not necessarily a good athlete. Like Spencer Rattler might be like a late flyer for some of these teams later in the draft. I am tracking that there might be like 7 or 8 teams that go quarterback from a fantasy perspective. And I was bringing this up the other day. So Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels would probably move into this tier of guys with Deshaun Watson and Will Levis. Caleb Williams would probably be way up there above Will Levis. Like I may even speculate on Caleb Williams being about quarterback 14. I could maybe make that argument. Jaden Daniels, based off that rushing upside, and I keep saying this over and over again, he's going to be pushed up because of that dart throw, that lottery ticket that he could win leagues with that rushing ability that he has. So again, you're looking at this range of guys. It's going to be more on you if you want the upside versus the safety in this range, more so than it mattering where anybody ranks them. But to finish off, and I bring it back up the draft, some of these guys like Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, like they may not go to what we would expect to be the best position for the draft. So some of these guys, like further down the board, may end up lucking into starting quarterback roles down the line, and that's why I would bring a guy like Stetson Bennett up. He's going to be in this range, the late 20s if he does get moved. I'm trying to look at some of the guys that I totally forgot that he's there. But I could definitely see him moving slightly up into the board down the line. There's a few other guys that may get moved, but I just saw him today to think about like if one of these teams miss on one of their spots, he's not going to move the needle from a fantasy perspective overall. But anyway, that's about all I got for today. And I'm planning to break down some of the rookie positions next week heading into the draft. I'm probably going to try and get content out for the next like maybe 2 weeks straight, breaking down positions, night 1, night 2, night 3, landing spots and all that stuff going on. So this would probably put me into about mid-May, just breaking down the draft in the next couple weeks.